This is Beyond a Reasonable Doubt with your hosts, Mark Garrigus and Gary Smith.
You really can't do that to me.
I really can, though. I just did. I mean, it's right here for the audience to witness. I made Mark laugh with something we can't talk about on air, and he laughed through the whole intro. So I guess I'm opening the show, and I will, in place of hello GPS, I will say hello MJG.
Oh God.
Why don't we just go ahead? I'll give you a moment.
Let's just go with the comment.
That's exactly.
And that's not, by the way, it's not what I'm laughing about.
Correct. So. But I will give you a moment. That's exactly where I was going to go. I'll give you a moment to compose yourself. The merch, which, by the way, I would like to commend you for wearing on not one, but two TV hits yesterday. And it was framed up perfectly.
Can we show that for those who are on YouTube?
Yeah.
The fact that it isn't often. And I'm going to comment on this because it'll lead me right into a story. There you go. Look at that.
There you go. So, this was sent to me by numerous people, both, friends and coworkers who saw you on both News Nation, two different News Nation shows, actually. I believe you were on Vargas, and then this is from Banfield. But in both, you were expertly framed to keep the Reasonable Doubt logo in there. And I'm sure it's going to do nothing but drive more demand for our merch. And that will take us to our winner for this week that you just sent me before the show started. And that is from Vega 3001, and her comment, or his or her comment, I don't know why I'm assuming his or her comment, says Kamala got schlonged.
And for those who don't know, then you don't deserve the merch.
Yeah, exactly. So I will get some merch out that way. And I believe I was told by someone who's helping with shipping in our office that a large batch of merch went out yesterday, or 2 days ago, as you listen to this on Friday. So anyone who is waiting for merch, keep an eye on your mailboxes early this week.
I want to shout out. I'm not going to give his name because I don't want him to get disciplined. I was in the Metropolitan Detention Center, also wearing that sweatshirt yesterday, and they let me in, even though they said it was borderline. And at first I thought it was because it said reasonable doubt. And, when you go into a custodial facility, you would assume that I assumed, maybe I'm attuned to it, but I assume reasonable doubt, that's provocative. You're not supposed to wear something provocative.
Can I guess?
It was not that. Can you guess why? Why I was on the border?
Was it the drawstrings? Was there a fear that somebody was going to grab onto it? Okay.
Drawstring hoodie.
Yeah, exactly. Because somebody could get a hold of that and have you in a bit of a chokehold, and they don't want that on them. So I assume if we go back to this picture, I was wondering about this. But this makes a lot more sense now. I assume they had you tuck the drawstrings in, and that is why they are not obstructing the logo for the TV hits. Because I noticed in both of the TV hits that the drawstrings were tucked in, and I thought, is Mark really playing 4D chess to the point that he thought about the branding and didn't want the logo obstructed? No. He was asked to obstruct the drawstring so that he didn't get choked to death by a ne'er-do-well.
It's you're on a roll today. I mean, if only we could tell the joke and not get shadow banned for doing it.
Yeah. So. Well, we can't. So I think we ought to move on.
Okay. From the sublime to the ridiculous. We could talk but maybe before we go to the trial. By the way, we talked last time about Jack Smith and winding down and now reportedly retiring prior to Trump taking office. And I mentioned that all that did was give everybody who thought and said that the federal prosecutions by the special counsel were politically motivated. It confirms that, and you can parse out whatever you want, but the fact that there's an election and then days later, the federal prosecutions are basically abandoned. And actually one, and when I say prosecutions, yes, I recognize that one was already dismissed by Eileen Cannon, who, by the way, did not get appointed attorney general, as some people had speculated. Instead, Matt Gaetz is the appointment. But the other one, the Chutkan case, the January 6th case, it's apparent that that's going to go nowhere fast, and that Jack Smith, in my humble opinion, is going to move very quickly to return to the ICC so they can get the hell out of America, given Matt Gaetz's tentative appointment as Attorney General. But all of that is a long-winded lead-in into the fact that also this past week, the prosecution, Alvin Bragg's office, filed a request, which Judge Mershon granted, to give them, I believe, an additional week, Gary.
That is my recollection as well.
Which would be, as this is dropping on Sunday, would be the week coming up to identify what their intentions are. Once again, giving wind and oxygen to everyone who said that prosecution was politically motivated. That the only thing that happened between the jury convicting Trump on 34 counts and now the judge for the umpteenth time continuing the sentencing is, in fact, that he got elected, also the presidential SCOTUS immunity, but that all of that leads you to show that when people were complaining about lawfare, and when you and I were talking, and I have never been a fan about the prosecution by the Manhattan DA's office of Trump, that if it gets dismissed, that would, I guess you still have the Georgia case hanging out there, but I don't think that thing's got about as much life as nothing.
Yes.
But there is an interesting legal twist to this. For everybody who says he's a convicted felon, technically, if you're not sentenced on a conviction, you're not a convicted felon. So if he's never sentenced, and no matter what they do with that prosecution, whether they stay it until after he gets out of office, whether they set it aside, or whether they try to sentence him, I don't think that there's any way they'll try to sentence him. But if he doesn't get sentenced, he's not a convicted felon. And that's under the law.
Well, what exactly are they going to use for the campaign ads, against him? That's everyone's favorite label. So that's going to be a little difficult for people if they can't use that, or if somebody can point at it and say it's incorrect factually.
Well, factually, it is incorrect. He's not a convicted felon. My guess is he's not going to be a convicted felon. And I can't imagine that they're going to try to sentence him at this point. I think that would be foolhardy. And boy, he has moved with great alacrity to get these appointments filled this past week. Watching the Matt Gaetz Attorney General appointment wind its way through, it's going to be fascinating. Also, speaking of Alvin Bragg and that prosecution, the defense lawyer, Todd Blanche, got the number 2 position.
Yes, he department. Did. Yeah.
Right? And Trump's appellate lawyer, the former Missouri AG, was named Solicitor General as well. So, boy, he's got himself some people. By the way, Trump's appellate lawyer won that case and in SCOTUS, and I was always impressed by his oral advocacy.
Yeah, it's quite a stark difference, the Trump transition compared to his first transition in 2016, where the win was presumably more of a surprise and everything was a little less organized. This time, he's certainly coming out of the gate hot, and he's snapping through these things really quick. I mean, we're 11 days removed from the election, and he's already made, large announcements in terms of who he's hoping to get through to these key positions.
Yeah, it's wild. And then going back, I sort of spent a lot of time talking, not a lot of time, but our focus today is the Manhattan DA's office. A case that I just do not understand.
Case we've been covering here for 18 months, something like that.
Since it started, I said it back then. I'll say it again. I do not understand why this case is being prosecuted. It's Daniel Penny. This is the gentleman, a former honorably discharged Marine who was on the subway, who back then in real time, they said that it did not appear that he had any intent to kill. The chokehold that was administered was to put this guy down who was obviously threatening people on there. It's a classic defense of others. He, in real time, had told the police a number of things. And let's play, but nevertheless, they waited, I think it was 12 days. They then indicted him, and he's literally on trial as we speak, and it is a circus.
Yeah, we have two clips here. We have a news report that shows a portion of his interview with police afterwards, and then we have a body cam video. Is there a preference you have on which one you'd like
love to see his first statements, because I had not seen this at the time, but it was apparent to me, based on the witness descriptions at the time, that what he's about to say is completely consistent with what the witnesses said.
Okay, you and I had a little bit of a lapse in communication, so this falls within a larger news report. So we will go ahead and just play that, and you can call your own out, because you may not want the tail end where it's just the reporter talking to camera. But
so you're standing behind me, and I kind of came like this.
Okay. Did you apply pressure, Daniel?
No, I wasn't. I just wanted to keep him from getting to people.
On day 7 of the high-profile subway chokehold trial in Lower Manhattan, jurors were shown a half-hour-long videotaped interrogation and heard former Marine Daniel Penny recall in his own words what happened. While speaking with detectives, Penny demonstrated the chokehold he used on Jordan Neely, appearing unaware that Neely died shortly afterwards.
I'm not trying to kill the guy.
Right.
Penny told the pair of detectives he was on his way to the gym after leaving class at City Tech from the J Street Metro Tech station in Brooklyn. At the 2nd Avenue stop, he said Neely got on, started to yell and threaten passengers.
Some guy came in, he's like, whipped his jacket off, and he's like, I'm going to kill everybody.
Several witnesses took the stand, including NYPD Detective Brian McCarthy, who interviewed Penny. McCarthy testified he didn't tell Penny that Neely had died during that 5th Precinct interrogation. And when Penny was questioned about why he decided to get involved in the first place, he said,
I'm not a confrontational guy. In the Marine Corps, I felt the need to step in. Yeah. There's women and children on the train.
Did you feel like someone's life was in danger?
100%.
Another key witness also testified.
For 1 second. Yeah, I mean, this is what's infuriating. He didn't know that he had died. He jumped in. They asked him basically, why'd you jump in? I'm a Marine. There were women and children. And the guy said, I'm going to kill somebody, or I'm making threatening gestures. As somebody who has relatives who ride that subway, you want Daniel Penny's riding on that subway.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, I don't think that it's going to come into this trial, but I believe that the police have gathered evidence that same person, the ultimate decedent here, had punched a woman of I have to be careful when I talk about age, because you and my mother get mad at me, but someone in her, I believe their 60s, a woman in her 60s, he punched her in the face and broke her cheekbone. So, this person was.
And by the way, that's probably there's been a lot of rulings in this case that have been controversial. That one is probably not controversial in this sense. The fact that the person that the decedent punched somebody, broke their face, if not known to Daniel Penny, does not get into his mindset as to what he knew. However, the fact that this guy punched somebody and broke their face, it should be known to the DA when they're making a decision as to whether to file this case. So he recognized somebody who without even knowing the prior, he recognized somebody who was a menace and he took action. So by being intuitively bright, it's almost like no good sense goes unpunished here.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want, we can play the other body cam video. It does not seem like his fellow subway riders regarded him as some sort of a vigilante or a dangerous person.
Oh, you're right. Take a look at this. But by the way, keep this in mind. There is a circus-like atmosphere in this trial, and Gary knows what I mean by that, because we just came off of one where there is interactive, you're blurting out and commentary from the peanut gallery, and it is awful what is happening in that courtroom, as reported by many people who I have known who are in there.
Yeah, I sort of. My world has changed quite a bit since I got through that trial with you, because I think that I would assume many others sort of view the courtroom environment from what they've seen on movies and TV. And in reality, it's a much more messy situation. And I would imagine that this trial has quite a bit of what we experienced as well. So this is some of the body cam footage of cops and EMS attending to the victim. And then there will also be interviews from the police of fellow subway riders who were on the train, in the car with them.
I hopped on the train, said he was ready to die. He didn't care.
It's been belligerent in that way.
Very.
The whole train was freaked out. He was either going to pull a gun, a knife, or
He said, I'm willing to die. I'm willing to die. I'm willing to get killed.
They really get a name and a phone.
Known as the level 1 of Central. Camera for all my units.
the guy in the tan did take him down very respectfully and just held him down. He wasn't he was just okay.
I think that the guy is totally drove down.
These two young ladies right here.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you see?
What did I see? I was sitting up there. I heard the young man that's on the floor saying, hey, I'm willing to die. I'll do anything. I'm willing to die. I'll go to jail. I don't care. And he was saying it so loud that everybody turned around. So this young man,
Train's going to be held here for a long period of time. You're going to find
Okay, what did you see?
what did I see?
I'm willing to die. And she's pounding her chest as she's saying it, as if imitating him. This is just astonishing to me that that this is a prosecution. I just do not understand what they are thinking and why they're going through this, except what the cynics are saying, that the optics were so bad because of the racial component that they had to go forward with this.
Well, I found it interesting that this same particular fellow writer was interviewed. This video that we just stopped because you were commenting, this video goes on for another, we're only about halfway through it. She's interviewed 3 or 4 different times by 3 or 4 different police officers. So, she tells the same exact story to all 3 or 4 of them. And, I'm calling her as a witness if I'm, on the defense, because, this is an unvarnished take of somebody else whose life was potentially in danger. This is not only a witness, but this is someone whom he in fact defended. This is the other in the defense of others, one of the others on the train that he was defending. And she is vehement. She is not wishy-washy. She is vehement that he stepped in and took, tried to handle something that she considered a threat to her safety.
Yeah, one can only hope that the jury is not influenced by the antics and the shenanigans in the courtroom and does the right thing here.
Yeah, one can only hope, as I've recently learned. It's that's certainly It's going to be interesting to watch. I don't know if you have a sense of how much longer this trial may go on, if we may get this wrapped up before Thanksgiving, or if this is going to bleed into December. I would imagine.
I have a distinct impression that it's going to end before Thanksgiving. So maybe as soon as this week. So we will follow it. I'm not going to say we may have a midweek.
No.
Because
let's be honest, we're not. And, now we're getting comments saying the same. And I think that they're getting to you a little bit. So, go ahead and temper that. And if we drop a surprise, then we drop a surprise and everyone can be excited about it, but we don't need any advance warning.
You got it. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you dropping everything to accommodate my schedule this week.
No problem, Mark. Happy to do it. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for repping Reasonable Doubt out there. The hoodie looked great. And, hey, and hats off to the correctional facility that had you tuck in those drawstrings so that they didn't obscure any of the logo. I like that.
I love it. Thanks, Gary. Have a great week.
All right, Mark. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Reasonable Doubt. Subscribe on YouTube at youtube.com/Reasonable Doubt Podcast.